Welcome back. It was a stunning moment courtesy of the man sitting right across from us at the trapezoid, State Representative Joe Gruder, Sarasota GOP chair, Donald Trump's Florida co-chair, at yesterday's rehash of the 2018 legislative session at the Tiger Bay Club. Joe broke down in tears, describing why, as a dad of a public school student, he voted for the new state law dealing with gun violence, which includes raising the minimum age you can buy a rifle to 21. Joe Gruders, who has an A rating by the NRA, broke down when he said that the NRA just announced he's a failure. Specifically, Marion Hammer, the woman who runs the show for the NRA in Tallahassee, the woman who also runs many Florida legislators who fear her wrath if they cross her. Quote, Republicans like Joe Gruders are responsible for passage of the gun control bill. They lack the courage to uphold their oath of office and keep their word to their constituents who voted for them. They were in total control. They no longer deserve your trust. Joining us for more is State Representative Joe Gruders and Attorney Morgan Bentley, who moderated that Tiger Bay Forum yesterday. And Joe, the obvious question to you is not what that reflects on you, but what does that say about Marion Hammer and the NRA?
Listen, she's there to do her job, and that's what she did yesterday. You know, the problem is what's come down as a society on a lot of these issues is you have to take there's no wiggle room, there's no compromise, there's no movement, and as a result, we have gridlock. There's gridlock in Tallahassee on a lot of issues. There's gridlock in D.C. on a lot of issues, and I would say probably 70% of your TV viewers out there and 70% of the public wants people to come together, work together, find solutions, find common sense solutions to some of these critical issues that we face as a country, and put aside the partisan bickering and gridlock and move forward and try to come out ahead so we could move this country forward, because people want to win. People want to do better for their families. They want to have a better country, and it's tough. Listen, for 20 years I've done battle on the front lines of the conservative causes across the board. It's very tough, and this issue was so tough, and I do always get emotional because anytime you're talking about children in Parkland, when you know, they had the parents come talk to us, the parents who lost their kids. And this bill, what it did was it provided $400 million in mental health counseling, security, school hardening. And as a parent of a public school child, and with 2 on the way in the public schools here in Sarasota, I will always do whatever I can to protect the children.
Morgan, but you were sitting with 2 people on the right and the left, Greg Stubbe, who voted against it, Margaret Good, who voted against it for different reasons.
Yeah, very different reasons. First, I do want to say I had not seen that quote from Marion before, and Joe, I got to tell you, I feel bad for you. You know, you and I disagree on a lot of stuff, but to name drop you like that is completely unfair and crazy. I don't understand how we've gotten that far.
Let me go on there, because in that very same statement, Marion Hammer goes on to say, when they ask for your support, meaning Republicans who voted for the gun bill, when they ask you to volunteer in their campaign, when they ask for your donations, when they ask for your votes, think long and hard about what they had done. And let me go to something that you said yesterday, Joe. You said that this vote may not cost me in the Senate race, but if I ever want to follow Greg, who's running for Congress, or Vern, it's going to hurt me.
And that's exactly right, because as a guy who's run campaigns for 20 years, the easy vote in my head as a campaign manager, as a political guy, as the chairman of the party, I would say vote no. The easy vote is no. The people around me voted no because it's the easy way to go. Listen, if you're on the left, you could say they didn't include assault weapons ban, right? It's not worthy, right? If you're on the right, you're saying this is an infringement on my Second Amendment right. But the problem is then we have nothing.
Right.
And then if we have another tragedy, hopefully not in Sarasota County, who's going to tell those parents it's okay, right? And my kid is in that school. They're in the public school.
That's right.
I've won there, and so for me, it's I don't care if I lose a race, if I lose an election. People voted for me to do the right thing, to be a champion for our community. And when the Orlando Sentinel already had it. They had me as one of the top 5 guys to break ranks. People can't believe, they say, well, they see me on TV, see me in the newspaper, and say they think I'm some partisan hacking and go up there and do it, only vote the Republican way. Most issues are not Republican versus Democrat, conservative versus liberal. Most issues are common sense versus non-common sense. It's for the community versus not. This issue to me is for our community and for our children.
Morgan?
I couldn't agree more. I think half a loaf is better than no loaf at all. I think Joe did the right thing. I understand there are criticisms with any omnibus bill like that one in particular, but you've got to do something, and I think Joe did the right thing. And what it shows is it shows that one party has been captured by one special interest group, and that is the NRA has captured the Republican Party, plain and simple. And if a Republican with the stature of this man was the co-chair of Donald Trump's Florida campaign, if he can't stand the blowback from this issue, nobody can.
Marion Hammer goes
crazy.
on into that release by saying that these Republicans, including yourself, who will lose your A rating by the NRA, may never get it back. And you said it yourself. If you have ambitions to run for Congress or anything else, those ambitions may be over.
But I'll tell you this, if we saved one life, and I think if this bill would have been put into place 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we wouldn't have had the Parkland situation. And we need to do everything we can as a community to protect the kids. That's the bottom line. I will always vote for the safety of our children first and foremost.
Well, what about what Morgan said, that basically that the Republican conference in Tallahassee is basically being held hostage by that woman and the NRA?
Well, listen, there's a lot of Republicans that voted for this bill, and the reason why that people say, well, there's 38 amendments that were proposed. I voted for one of the amendments. I voted not to arm teachers in school, right? It didn't pass, but it doesn't mean I'm going to vote against the whole bill, even though I could have. But because the thing is what happens is when you have a bill, they know the coalition that it takes to get the votes that you need to pass. Once you start adding one thing here, one thing there, all of a sudden the coalition that you have, which there were Republicans and Democrats that voted for this, it crumbles. And not only do you have the House, you have the Senate. And so listen, at the end of the day, it wasn't a perfect bill, but it was a bill that we needed to take as a state. And I'm proud to have voted for it, and I would do it again every other day.
All right, we are just getting warmed up, and we'll have much more on the week in Washington right after we check the first alert weather, so stay with us. We're talking about the week in Washington, and joining us for more is State Representative Joe Gruters and Attorney Morgan Bentley. Just before we went on the air, North Korea announced that it was suspending its nuclear program, shutting down its site. And Morgan, I'll start with you, because a lot of Democrats said the bombastic language that the president used in the last few months in regards to North Korea showed that he was playing with nuclear fire and didn't know what he was doing. It looks tonight that he knew something.
Sure does. And, you know, we can all try to take, what is it, success has many fathers and failure is an orphan. You know, a lot of people are going to take credit for this. But the fact is, it happened under his watch. And, again, going back to what Joe said, good results are good results. And if North Korea is going to denuclearize, that is a good result. And even though I am no Trump supporter, you can't argue with that. That's a good thing.
There is a long road there, Joe. I mean, this undeniably is good news today there, but there are a lot of things that could, and experts would say will probably go wrong before there's any kind of agreement that's possibly agreed to.
But the fact is, we're having this discussion. The fact that the South Korean president met with the North Korean president. The fact that our CIA director, our next Secretary of State, met with the North Korean dictator. The fact that Donald Trump says he's going to meet with him in a couple of weeks. The fact that they've announced that they have agreed to unilaterally disarm their nuclear program. Listen, this is a major win for Donald Trump, and I go back to, are we tired of winning yet? You know, Donald Trump, yes, he says he does a lot of things, but I always compare him to the ice skater. From a artistic standpoint, he's a 10. Maybe from a technical standpoint, he's a 2. But listen, he's moving the needle. He's getting the job done, and he is to be celebrated for this specific thing.
You know, Nixon went to China, though, and Nixon opened China, which was a huge thing. But it did not save Nixon from Watergate. And still, when you talk about the raid on Michael Cohen's offices, all the trouble in New York, and the fact that the Russia investigation is continuing, you know, how do you put aside, what's happening with North Korea, with really the trouble that's still brewing in Washington.
Well, here's the deal. Give the president the credit when he deserves it, like now with North Korea. And I've said from the very get-go, let's move these investigations on. Let's complete them. If he did do something bad, let's punish him. Let's take the team out of whoever did anything bad. But let's move it. Let's not have a 4-year investigation. Listen, we're a year and a half in, and it doesn't seem like we're any close to solving any issue. People want, the Obama didn't go through this, President Obama didn't go through this. We have to, as a country, come together, just like before, come together and let's solve problems, let's attack these issues, and let's go after them.
Morgan, we asked you to be here tonight, not only because you're a Democrat, but you're also an attorney, and when you look at the raid on Michael Cohen's office, the possible evidence that was recovered there, how dangerous is this for not just Michael Cohen, but for Donald Trump?
Extremely. I mean, this is not something that, first of all, if this was about Stormy Daniels, they wouldn't have done it. This is about something much bigger than that. I have no idea what it is. I could take some guesses. I'm guessing there's probably some money laundering issues. There's probably some financial misdealings. There's things like that. They don't raid offices because of non-disclosures of porn stars, okay? They do raid offices for much bigger deals. And attorneys' offices are just not done that way unless they've got, you got to think about if you're the judge and you're looking at the prosecutor who's asking you for the warrant and you know Donald Trump's name's attached to it, you're going to look that guy in the eye and say, you better be darn sure that this is right. So there's something there, we just don't know what it is yet.
What do you, and we have less than a minute left, but a number of Republicans on Capitol Hill were asked this week, will they support the president for re-election, and they couldn't say yes. And just today, a story that John Kasich, the governor of Ohio's allies, say that he is feeling out top GOP donors.
Donald Trump doesn't care about polls. He doesn't care about the swamp creatures in D.C. He's going to run for re-election. He's going to win, and I'm going to hopefully be his chairman again here in Florida.
Boy, I wish we had more time. All right, before we go, we want to share with you what some of you had to say about last night's show on robots picking strawberries at Wish Farms in DeWitt. The robots have been picking strawberries. They invented the device because there are no longer enough migrant workers available to do the job, and apparently Americans don't want those jobs, which pay $25 an hour. We went to Facebook for your thoughts, and Kyle says, the question is not about an American wanting that job. If you need the job and money to survive, you would pick strawberries if you had to. Patrick says, POTUS's legacy will be produce rotting on the vine because no one will harvest it. Uncle Sam will pay for the farmers for their losses, and so on. And Billy says, robotics doing more mundane tasks is coming. You'll be replaced with a workforce more effective. This is why science and mathematics needs to be pushed hard in the school. The future is now. Now, he tells me. If you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/mysuncoast.com.abc7. And FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. We want to thank our guests for being here tonight, Representative Joe Gruters and Morgan Bentley, the attorney.